My mom demanded I raise my sister's kids after she vanished. When I said no, she came screaming to my door blaming me for everything. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and I haven't spoken to my mom, Carol, who's 68 now, in almost a decade. My dad, Robert, died unexpectedly 12 years ago from a heart attack. It hit all of us hard, but it devastated her most of all. The real falling out between us happened a couple of years after that, during a massive argument. The root cause? My younger sister, Brenda, who's now 35. Brenda had her first baby when she was just 22. I was 18 back then, trying to get my small landscaping business off the ground after working under someone else for a few years. Starting out was rough. I had invested everything I'd saved into the business. Not long after, Brenda called asking for a big loan. She said she needed a car to get to a part-time job at a diner a few towns away and also to take her daughter Lily to doctor's appointments. The amount she asked for was nearly everything I had left in my emergency fund. I just spent a lot on a used work truck, a commercial mower, and a leaf blower, tools I really needed to keep the business going. I explained all this to her and told her I just didn't have the money to spare. I was barely staying afloat myself. I tried to be gentle, even suggested maybe she look for work closer to home or ask mom for help instead. She didn't take it well. Said I was selfish and that I always acted like I was better than her. I told her that wasn't true, it was just a matter of different circumstances and timing. She hung up on me. The next day, my mom called. No greeting, no how are you, just straight into it. She demanded I help Brenda. Said family should always support each other, no exceptions. I was stunned. I reminded her that just a year earlier, I'd asked her for a much smaller loan, maybe a quarter of what Brenda wanted, so I could buy a stump grinder to take on a bigger contract that could have changed my business. She flat out refused back then. I remember exactly what she told me. You need to learn to manage your own finances, Michael. We can't keep bailing you out. I threw those words right back at her. Asked her why it was different when Brenda needed help. That's when she started yelling, saying I was being rude and that Brenda's situation was a real emergency. I said it felt like an emergency to me at the time too. Things spiraled. The shouting got worse. I finally lost it and told her she was enabling Brenda, that Brenda would never learn to be independent if someone kept swooping in to rescue her. I said she clearly played favorites. She hung up on me, and from that day on, we didn't speak. 10 years of silence. Not a word. We'd be in the same room at family weddings or funerals, but we stayed away from each other. It was uncomfortable, sure, but I felt like I'd said what needed to be said. Brenda, to be honest, has always been kind of a train wreck. Bad relationships, one after another. She never stuck with a job for long, always bouncing between low-wage work. She ended up having 2 more kids, Mark, who's 7, and Sam, who's 4, with 2 different dads, neither of whom are involved at all. They never really were. Brenda leaned heavily on mom for help, and occasionally on the kids' father's families when they felt like pitching in. Despite being on a tight income after dad passed, mom always found a way to give Brenda money or help with the kids. About 2 weeks ago, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. It was my mom. First time I'd heard her voice in a decade. She sounded different, strained. She didn't bother with small talk. She jumped right in and told me Brenda had gone missing. Apparently, she told mom she was going to the store for diapers and milk, and never came back. A few hours later, mom got a text from her. Just a few lines, cold and final. Brenda said she couldn't handle being a mother anymore, that the kids would be better off with mom. Then she blocked her number. Naturally, mom tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. She sounded panicked when she told me all this. Said she was completely overwhelmed. She's not young anymore, and trying to manage 3 little kids with different temperaments and needs was wearing her down, physically and emotionally. She admitted that while she still had a modest retirement fund, raising these kids full-time would bankrupt her. She wouldn't be able to cover her own bills, let alone support 3 young children. Then she hit me with the question I'd been fearing. She asked if I could take the kids, not just help out financially, but actually raise them, full-time. All 3. I live in the city with my girlfriend Sarah, she's 32. We've been together 3 years and we're really happy. We've been talking about getting married next year. Kids were something we figured we'd think about in the future, but not right now. Our apartment has 2 bedrooms, perfect for us, but it would be way too cramped with 3 young kids running around. I told my mom I couldn't do it. I explained how small the apartment was, that Sarah and I weren't ready to be parents, especially not overnight. I might have sounded a little cold, but I also reminded her that she still lives in the house I grew up in, a 4-bedroom place in the suburbs. It's a little dated, sure, but there's more than enough room. Brenda's old room is still untouched. I said I'd understand if she was asking for money, but she wasn't. She refused again. And just like before, she started yelling, accusing me of being selfish, heartless, and family-less. She brought up our old fight, claiming I never let things go, that I was just being petty and trying to punish her. Said I was no better than Brenda, that I was abandoning the family. I told her she was right. If it came down to it, I'd have no choice but to call Child Protective Services. Then I hung up. Now she's been calling everyone, my aunts, uncles, cousins, telling them I refuse to help. I've been getting texts and calls from relatives I haven't talked to in years, saying I need to do the right thing, that I'm heartless for turning away from my own blood. Update 1. I've read through a bunch of the responses, and I wanted to clear up a few things, especially about Brenda. Like I said, we were never really close. Even as kids, she was the rebellious one in skipping class, sneaking out, arguing constantly with our parents. I was the opposite. The quiet one. The rule follower who stayed under the radar and got good grades. I was the kind of kid who followed the rules and stayed out of trouble. Brenda and I were just different. We never had much in common, never clicked. I remember trying to teach her chess once, thinking it might be something we could enjoy together. She lasted maybe 5 minutes before getting frustrated and flinging the pieces across the room. That moment kind of sums up our relationship. I haven't seen her or her kids in years, not since before things went south with my mom. For a while after the fight, I still sent Christmas cards with gift cards inside for the kids. I figured it was a small way to stay somewhat connected, even if I wasn't directly involved. But after never getting so much as a thanks or even a quick message, I eventually stopped. A lot of folks have been asking why my mom hasn't called the police about Brenda going missing. The truth is, she refuses to. She keeps saying she doesn't want Brenda getting into trouble. In her words, Brenda's just being Brenda. She's convinced that Brenda's just overwhelmed and will come back when she's ready. Honestly, I think she's just in deep denial. During that first call she made to me, I even brought it up, told her that something could have happened, that Brenda might be in real danger. But she brushed it off, said Brenda was an adult and knew how to handle herself. Here's something important I didn't mention before. I ended up calling Child Protective Services myself. After a long talk with Sarah, I decided it was the right thing to do. I gave them all the facts, Brenda's name, her kids' names and ages, my mother's address, and the date she disappeared. I didn't say anything about refusing to take the kids in. I kept it strictly factual. They told me they'd do a welfare check to make sure the kids were safe and being taken care of. I haven't heard anything back from them since. This whole thing has been tough on both Sarah and me. We've talked about it a lot. She's been amazing through all of it, supportive, calm, reasonable. She agrees that there's just no way we can take the kids right now, not with where we're at in life. That said, she did suggest we could offer some limited financial help, maybe send some money monthly to cover groceries or clothes for the kids. And honestly, that's as far as we're willing or able to go. After all the angry texts and calls from family, I finally blocked my mom's number along with the numbers of everyone else who was piling on me. Things have been quiet since then. Update 2. It's been about 2 weeks since that last update, and well, things escalated. Today, my mom showed up at my apartment building. No warning. No heads up. Just showed up. I was outside, doing some yard work. It's a small building, only 6 units, and I've kind of taken it upon myself to keep the landscaping in decent shape. I was trimming the bushes by the front walkway, trying to even them out a bit, when a car pulled up. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't recognize the vehicle. It wasn't her old sedan. This was a newer, small SUV. Probably a rental, I figured. Then I saw her step out of the driver's side. My first instinct? Run. I literally started walking quickly toward the front door, hoping I could get inside and lock it before she caught up. That's when she called out, sharp, loud, commanding. Michael, stop right there. We need to talk. Her voice had that same sharp edge she used when I was a kid and in trouble. I stopped at the door, hand on the knob, and turned around. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. In as calm a voice as I could manage, I told her I wasn't changing my mind. That taking in the kids just wasn't happening. I asked her to go home, that nothing was going to come out of this conversation. She didn't even acknowledge what I said about the kids. Instead, she launched into a whole speech about our relationship, how things had been between us ever since my dad passed, and even before that. She admitted she hadn't always been a good mother to me. Said she'd favored Brenda. Said she was too hard on me and let Brenda get away with everything. Then she said something that hit me like a truck. She told me she was scared when she found out she was pregnant with me. That I wasn't planned. That my birth completely threw off everything she and Dad had envisioned for their future. Before I was born, my dad, he was a talented carpenter, had this dream of quitting his factory job and starting a custom woodworking business. He had plans drawn up for a basement workshop and everything. And Mom, well, she dreamed of staying home, raising a garden, keeping chickens, canning vegetables. But when I came along, all those plans had to be scrapped. Another baby meant more expenses, less room, and Dad couldn't take the risk of leaving a steady paycheck. So, the dream died. He stayed at the factory, working longer and longer hours in a job he grew to hate. Mom had to pick up part-time gigs, cleaning houses, doing odd jobs, to help keep things afloat. Then she said it, something I think I always knew deep down but never expected to hear out loud. She said that over time, both she and Dad started to resent me for it. Not consciously, maybe, but the feeling was there. She said it wasn't my fault, I was just a baby, but the resentment still shaped how they treated me. That's why she was always so strict with me, why she went easier on Brenda. Brenda, she said, symbolized the life they wanted. I was the reminder of what they had to give up. Then she apologized, said she was sorry for not being the mom I needed. Sorry for withholding the love and support I deserved. Said she'd carried the guilt with her for years and that it only got heavier after my dad died. I was stunned. Just sat there on the front steps, too overwhelmed to stand. My legs literally gave out under me. Deep down, I'd always had this feeling that I wasn't wanted. The age gap, the way I was treated, it had always seemed off. But hearing it confirmed out loud, that was something else entirely. After sitting in silence for what felt like forever, I finally told her I needed time. I thanked her for being honest, but said I needed space to process it all. I asked her to leave. She didn't argue. Just nodded, turned around, and walked back to the car without another word. I went back inside, straight to the apartment, and told Sarah everything. Update 3. Later that day, after Sarah and I talked it through, I sent my mom a text. I didn't want to do another phone call, and I sure as hell didn't want another surprise visit. I needed to get my thoughts out clearly, without interruption. Here's what I wrote. Mom, thank you for coming by today and talking to me. I told her in the message that I appreciated her honesty and the effort it must have taken to say all that. I understood why she treated me the way she did even if I didn't agree with it. But understanding the reasons didn't erase the impact. It didn't undo all the years I spent feeling like I was second best. Like I was a mistake. Like I was loved less than Brenda. I told her I couldn't just erase that pain, or pretend it didn't shape me. I said I truly felt for her situation with Brenda's kids, that I knew she was overwhelmed, but I still couldn't take them in. I wasn't prepared for that kind of responsibility, and it wouldn't be fair. Not to the kids. Not to Sarah. Not to me. Sarah and I had our own life, our own plans. I needed space to sort through everything my mom had dumped on me during that conversation. It was too much to process all at once. I asked her not to contact me for a while, but I'd reach out if or when I was ready. She didn't reply. Not even a short message. I wasn't surprised. Update 4. A week went by after I sent that text. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I honestly thought she might try something, but it stayed quiet. Then, tonight, while Sarah and I were cleaning up after dinner, putting leftovers in the fridge and loading the dishwasher, there was a loud, pounding knock at the door. It was forceful. Urgent. I opened it to find my mom standing there, and she looked furious. She didn't wait for me to say a word. She just launched into it, voice shaking and raised. I tried to stay calm, told her I wasn't going to talk to her, not like this. I reminded her of the text, how I'd asked for space, how I said I'd reach out when I was ready. She said she'd read the text over and over during the week and had decided I was being completely unreasonable. She said she had apologized, she had opened up, and that should have been enough. Then she started accusing me of being selfish, of only caring about my own feelings. She brought up my dad, said he'd worked himself into an early grave at a job he hated, because of me. Because I ruined their future plans. She said I owed them for all they gave up. That I had a debt to repay. Then she brought up Brenda again, said that at least Brenda had an excuse for leaving her kids, that she was overwhelmed and struggling. Then she looked me dead in the eye and asked, with this awful sarcastic tone, "So what's your excuse, Michael? What reason do you have for abandoning your family?" She kept going, barely stopping to breathe. Said I'd always been cold and heartless, even as a little kid. That the message I sent her was offensive, and that she wasn't going to honor what she called my ridiculous demand for space. She said she came there to settle things once and for all, and she wasn't leaving until I agreed to take the kids. I tried to cut in, tried to explain that she was being unfair, that she wasn't listening, but she just talked over me. Louder and louder. Eventually, I snapped. I told her flat out that she was the one being unreasonable. That just because she apologized didn't mean all the pain she caused me vanished. I said I didn't owe her anything. That she made her choices, and now I was making mine. I told her if she had respected my need for space, if she'd given me a chance to actually process things, we might have been able to talk more calmly down the road. But barging in and attacking me like this? She destroyed any hope of that happening. I reminded her that I had been respectful. That I had clearly asked for time. and that she had no right to tell me how to feel or how to respond. I told her to leave. That if she didn't get out of the building immediately, I would call the police. She stood there, speechless for a second. Then her face twisted in rage. She started cursing at me, called me ungrateful, a terrible son, a disgrace to the family. Then she turned around and walked off, heading back to the car she came in. I slammed the door and just stood there for a moment, leaning against it, trying to steady my breathing. Sarah had been standing a few feet behind me the whole time, watching. She hadn't said a word until it was over. When I finally calmed down, she told me she was proud of me for standing my ground, for not letting my mom bully me. She said she'd suspected from the very beginning that my mom's apology had strings attached. That it wasn't about healing, it was about getting what she wanted. Sarah said once my mom realized Brenda was gone and had left the kids behind, she panicked. And when I didn't jump to fix it, she turned to manipulation and guilt. Sarah told me we made the right call. That we couldn't let someone else's crisis become our burden. That it sucked, but sometimes family just causes more harm than good. Update 5. It's been a few months since all that happened. I haven't logged into this Reddit account in a while. Life has been full, in a good way. First, the fallout. A few days after that last blow-up, I got a call from a lawyer. My mom's lawyer. He said she had updated her will and officially removed me from it. Everything, her house, her savings, any valuables, was being left to Brenda and the kids. I told him I didn't care. That if my mom thought that would hurt me, she was wasting her time. I never expected anything from her. I certainly wasn't waiting on an inheritance. Since then, I haven't heard a word from my mom directly. But I have seen a few bitter posts from my aunt and mom's sister on social media. Stuff like, some people don't appreciate what's been done for them, and family means nothing to the selfish. I blocked her, along with a few other relatives who jumped on the same bandwagon. Then, a few weeks ago, I got a phone call I wasn't expecting. This time it was from a police officer in a small town about 2 hours away. They'd found Brenda. Turns out, she'd been living there under a slightly altered name, working at a diner. She agreed to come back and take custody of the kids. She told the police, and later my mom, that she'd been going through a severe emotional breakdown, that she couldn't cope and needed to get away to clear her head. She apologized to my mom and moved back into the family house with her and the kids. I didn't really know how to feel about it. Still don't. As for me and Sarah, we're doing great. We're still planning our wedding. It's happening next spring. We booked a little vineyard just outside the city as our venue. Picked out the caterer, the photographer, everything's coming together. It's a lot of work, but it's also been something to look forward to. Something that feels fully ours. And after everything that's happened, that means more than I can even explain.